Good morning. My name is Jack Theobald, and I'm chairman of the Weare Capital Improvement Program. Today is the October 3rd meeting. And we can start from the right over here.
I'm Stu Richmond.
I'm Jan Snyder, ex officio.
Sherry Burdick.
Gary Shelto.
Steve Roberts.
Thank you. We're going to find out if Bruce is coming or not.
He is, he'll be late.
Oh,
Thought I told you that.
coming from Goffstown. Is he here? Okay. With that, we have a few departments to hear from. We have Parks and Rec first, and the request is for Bolton Memorial Field Development, Pavilion, Shade/Picnic Structures. And this was presented earlier, and we're going to receive more information today on it.
Yep.
Correct? Thank you,
That's
Karen.
right. So I think last time I simply had the pricing for the picnic tables and the structures alone. Since the last time we met, I did meet with a site work concrete gentleman over at the site to give me a decent quote. So for the site work and concrete slabs, we're looking at $20,800. Construction of the, and I'm still going with the kits that I had originally taken a look at.
Okay, let me just ask a question.
Yep.
Who is the general contractor? You?
Yep.
Okay. So this is sort of like the parts you're gonna put together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You know, I talked to the company itself that provides the kits, and they have a crew that will come and
Oh,
construct them
okay, so
on
long
top,
as,
right
long
on
as
the
pad.
concrete slab. So I don't think there's a whole lot that would go into needing a general contractor. You know, you pour the slab, they come, they attach it to the slab, and we're good to go.
Do
there
they
is-
specify how the slab is supposed to be constructed?
They have engineered plans already to provide to the concrete contractor. There is a delivery fee, a flat fee of $499 for delivery of both structures to New Hampshire, and they send along their crew. It takes about a day, maybe into a little bit of a second day to get both structures erected on site.
Okay, so one is 16 by 20,
And the
one
other
is 20
one
by 36.
by 36. Yep, the 16 by 20 we intend to go up on the playground area, which is obviously a smaller area, and a few picnic tables under there so parents can watch their kids have little birthday parties.
So would this look like a roof with just some posts on it underneath it?
It's a pavilion.
I don't know what pavilion is. Well, there's many definitions. I don't know what you mean.
It's kind of, you've been over to Chase Park.
Yes.
Okay, it's pavilion-y like that, only it looks a little more fancy. It'll have asphalt shingles.
Do you have any pictures of this?
Yes, at
Do
work.
you have electronic pictures of this?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can get you electronic
So we
pictures
can
if you
make up
want.
a slide, and I'll
Oh, sure.
promote what this is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I
Thank
can
you.
do that, if you want me to forward them to you. So, you know, with the additional research, the total cost of the project would be $56,672.
Okay, here's a little bit of a curve, and you may not know about it. These are 2017 prices,
No, I know.
and
Yeah.
so we, in probably good faith, should decide what a reasonable escalator is for 2018.
Any ideas?
Wow,
No,
because we won't have
5%.
enough money.
No, I know, but I mean, what sort of increase would be
Well, we gotta get the
reasonable?
Ouija board out, I guess.
I mean, are we
Safe
talking-
is
say like
probably
a six-
5%.
I was gonna say like a $60,000 total.
Well, 5% is pretty close to that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, that's reasonable. I mean, who
Karen,
knows
what's-
with the price
what's
of
the total?
concrete?
56,672.
$59,505.
So if I went
60,000.
60.
Okay, I think so, because it costs what it costs when we get it in. We just wanna
No,
make sure we
yeah.
have enough money.
Right.
Very good.
So do you want me to go back, amend this, and then resubmit?
No, I think we can handle it. We will put it on our schedule.
Okay.
Okay, on our slide and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is your input, that's fine. We'll just recognize we're gonna bump it 5% because, I mean, that,
Inflation.
Well, you know,
Might be.
concrete goes up and down by the
No,
demand.
I'm sure, yeah,
And the other stuff is what they buy the raw material for.
right,
Is this gonna be a wooden structure or
Yes.
metal?
would,
4x4 or 6x6, the posts?
there were 6. I'm trying to think
6 inch?
what I read on the kit book. I think it's 6. I can give you more specific information. I have all this stuff at
Yeah,
work.
I'm just wondering, we're worrying that this pavilion, the kids may turn the posts into a totem pole.
I don't know.
Would you send us the dimensions? Send us the specifications,
Yep.
so we can at least have that.
Yeah. And if the pitch isn't too much on the roof, you know, I would think it'd have to be 6x6 for the snow issue.
Yeah, the, specifically on the larger one, I did take a look and it was rated for like 145-mile wind and a lot of snow load. I remember thinking it was a lot. So,
Yeah.
I can forward it to you, it's all,
Yeah,
If
it's
you
all
got the
available.
propaganda sheets, you know.
What's the snow load
Specs and
requirement,
all
Chip?
that.
80?
However,
80 per square foot?
with no heat inside the building in the winter, more than likely you will not have the same problems you would have with a dwelling unit.
Well,
I think it was more than, it came more than that. So,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. I'll let you know.
Alrighty, any other questions?
Nope, and I tried to reach out to Bruce. Actually gave me his
He's
phone
in
number.
Goffstown.
No, I know. His phone number wouldn't work.
Huh?
I couldn't get through to him because I his phone number. So,
He's in Webster, and there's no phone communication up there, sometimes texts
Oh,
go
yeah.
through.
He
Wow.
is in the outer limits.
I can give you his number.
well, I have it. I got it from, whatever.
I'm
Anyway,
not gonna say it on TV.
yeah.
I might have given him the wrong number, but
I mean,
last number digit's 3. I won't say the number.
well, I don't have it right here off the top of my head. I'm not sure. I mean, you had wanted me to talk to him about the boat ramp issue, you know.
Well, I think the boat ramps still is an issue, as we had last year. It's an engineering study.
Right.
And if you're gonna spend $25,000, whatever the number is, what's the real number? I mean, people should have some idea of what the whole envelope is.
Oh, sure, and
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely, you see, the problem with, we had somebody come out, take a look at it, and ask them to give us a quote for the project, and they can't help us without an
I
engineering
understand, but
study.
there must be other people out there that have done boat ramps locally.
Well,
and
I talked to Fish and Game, and they use their own guys to do all the work, and I tried to get hold of somebody in Goffstown, I think they had their guys do the work.
See, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, the CIP kind of qualifies these. A, do they meet sort of what the town intent is?
Sure.
And B is this a reasonable price for the reasonable product?
Mhm.
And so, we don't wanna go put something forwards that's only like the start of it, without knowing what it is, because most people won't know if they don't understand it.
Sure,
So, it's hard to bound it when you don't have a plan, but there must be some examples out there.
when I talked to Fish and Game, they had indicated it would be a little over $100,000 for the project, like Bruce had mentioned. That's why I questioned whether or not he meant the engineering plans or the entire project, and you weren't sure
Yeah.
what he had indicated, so,
I don't know.
right,
So you wanna go forwards with this one this year?
for sure,
Okay,
yeah.
then, like I say, we qualify these if they meet a capital
Mhm.
project.
Mhm.
We then forward it to the planning board, the finance committee, and the select board. And the select board decides what goes on
Right.
the warrant.
Mhm.
So, we're gonna be discussing this a little bit later today.
Okay.
But, are any other questions for Karen? Are we letting go? You probably got a little work, huh?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
All right, so pictures, dimensions, you want me to just email
And the
it to you?
specifications.
No, I email it to Naomi,
Naomi?
who's gonna end up probably working the magic on the
Okay.
view graphs. It's a lot easier lifting a picture if we can,
Mhm.
and putting it the rest of us trying to create something.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. So we meet again. Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is Tom next? I meant it as a question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Chief, are you here this morning for an official? We're happy to have you anytime.
Just to observe.
Okay, fine. Come on down, Tom. You're on behalf of the select board?
I am, right, it's a major, as you recall, there's a lot of discussion over the previous few months concerning the highway garage, the new one, and the fact that we came up short on money, and that there was not a fire suppression system going in. So what this request is for is, what voters decide, basically, whether to put a fire suppression system in. Most of it, I think we've talked about it, Jag, is that the plumbing would be the last thing to put in anyway, so it wouldn't be difficult as far as arranging it. However, it's expensive, as you will see.
So there's no plumbing in the building to accommodate this now?
No, there isn't.
I actually watched the selectmen's meeting last night.
Yeah. Pretty high rated, huh?
Well, I was gonna ask you to interpret what you meant last night.
Well, maybe I can do it today. Maybe not.
Okay, why don't you give us an overview? There's plumbing inside the building?
Okay. Can we have one for Bruce too, Tom? He's coming. Thank you.
So there's plumbing inside the building, plumbing to the building, some form of a pump, and some form of a water source, am I correct?
That's part of this, actually, that's why it's pricey, because
We have plenty of room.
until you all speak for itself on the second page.
Yeah.
You know, constructed enclosure, there would be some projection on the back of the building, like a little built room for the cistern, and the other equipment that needs to work for this, and it would be plumbed off the pump that was in there.
So what would the enclosure look like? Notionally.
I wish Bruce was here, because
yeah.
what would this
Your wish is here.
enclosure
It's gonna
look-
look like essentially what they had originally designed it to look like. It's gonna be a little shed roof off the side of the building, so it can go in the same place it was originally intended. There's nothing there in the way.
So this would be off the end, the back?
No, it's off the side, out towards the back, not the far end, because we're leaving that open for expansion. But towards that end, but on the sides.
When you say side, are you actually talking in the back, the opposite side from where the doors are?
Yes.
Yeah, we'd have to.
Yep.
Yeah, this language, I think of it
Yep.
as the back.
Okay, but yeah, on that side.
This for how many gallon storage?
I think it was a 20,000, 25,000 gallon tank. It's whatever they had designed. New Hampshire Fire Protection did it. They've still got all the plans, they've got all the engineering work. We haven't changed the building a bit since they designed it, so they could use that same suppression system that they already designed.
Okay. Like 20 by 30?
It wasn't quite 20, but I would propose that it be made a little bigger than what it was originally. It doesn't need to be steel framed, I think we do it all in wood frame and put a steel skin on it so it looks the same. But Benji needs a place to store voting booths and stuff like that, and that was gonna be the place to put it.
Oh, so it's a fire suppressor / voter.
Yeah. 'Cause, you know,
Okay.
yeah, but
Let's concentrate on the fire suppression. Okay, so inside there will be the tank.
that'd be the tank, and it has to be a little separate room for the alarm system. The control system has to be in a room by itself. It can't be in the same room the tank is in.
Okay.
How big of a room? was like
Closet
4
size?
feet by 6 feet, yeah, it was closet size.
Okay, I heard a discussion last night that, do you already have a generator for the structure?
Yeah, that's a point here, and we talked about this after you left in your presentation last night, Bruce. And it's something that personally I would still like to look into. We had talked back when we had the finalized plans about the generator being oversized intentionally so that we could add on this, but that's not the way it came through. It came through with the generator size to support the building, but not to support the pump for the fire suppression system. There have been discussion over the last couple of months, really, about could we pay for an upgrade through the highway budget in order to have one generator there. And that wasn't done. So the generator that
Is undersized.
is in hand is the one to run the building, but not to include the fire suppression system on that. So the discussion that you heard was my saying, isn't there some way to put that on hold and upgrade it?
Have we taken receipt of the generator in the building?
There's a deposit that's been placed on it.
Oh, so, I mean,
It's on order. I mean, it had to be ordered because it wasn't something anybody stocked.
yeah, I understand, but the gymnastics here is, how long do we have to wait to decide to upscale the generator? It sounds like next spring, when we vote in this budget.
But well,
You got money to do it?
our budget's in pretty good shape. I mean, I don't want to talk for Benji, but if you look at the bottom line, after 3/4 is about 33% for each of the three large departments. So I think that we can look at that and pay for an upgrade through the budget, but we gotta get
Do it
things
now,
going.
yeah.
The other question that came up last night, which I couldn't answer, hadn't even thought of, was can it work all off one generator, or does it have to be a separate generator for the fire suppression system?
Oh, you mean legally?
No, legally, it
Functionally.
can be one.
Functionally, it can.
Okay.
What's your
And-
horsepower of
And
your
with
pump?
the original building design, with the fire suppression system in it, it was intended to be one generator.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but then one of our board members thought otherwise last night, so that part of the discussion came up.
Let me try this. Does anybody know how many kilowatts that they have on order right now?
50.
You got 50 kilowatts right now just for the building? Okay,
And what's the fire suppression?
With the fire suppression, it needed to be 80.
you need 30 horsepower to run the pump. That means the pump is 30 horsepower. Okay,
Yep.
so you want to upgrade from a 50 kilowatt to a 80 kilowatt, and the delta of that money will come from Benji's on the run, possibly?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not,
I'm just trying to get the story straight.
that's the
Okay.
idea. That would,
Remove the
mean-
30,000.
That would remove the 30,000.
Okay,
Because this 30,000, my understanding of it is that it would be for a separate generator just for the fire suppression system. Which, to me, if they'll all work off one, just gives you something else to maintain. Why have two generators? So that
that was the original plan.
was the original plan.
So, who's decided that 80 is the right number for
The
kilowatt?
engineer, the electrical engineer.
Okay. So some of the magic is buying the upscale generator on this year's money, correct? The delta of it,
The,
combine the two pieces?
That's, again, I'm really talking more for myself than I am. That's not a board decision. It's not having gone to Benji and specifically saying, can you take this much out? Because we gotta know what this much is.
Okay, but for the sake of conversation here, you're proposing, even though you don't have the authority to do this, you're proposing it makes good sense for the town of Ware in 2017 to upscale the 50 to an 80.
Right.
And you're gonna pay the, part of the money for the 50 is out of the building fund, right? That's out of the building fund?
Out of the warrant article.
And the
yes.
other 30K worth of
Upgrade.
money is coming out of possibly Benji's on the run?
The budget, yeah.
Okay.
The operating budget.
Given this, when do you think that decision will be made by the board in Benji? Next week or two?
It has to be fast. I mean, we already ordered the generator, we've got to
Right.
change that order.
Is there a way you can put that halt on that so we don't
I'll find
have
out
it
today.
delivered? I mean, this makes sense. And if, I guess the worst comes to worst, if the town doesn't buy this, you know,
We've got the generator for the future.
Right,
you have the
following
generator
year or
already.
whatever, yeah.
So your request, based on fruition of your plan, we would decrement $30,000 from this. That 30,000 may go away.
So, yeah, hopefully, but,
Yeah.
it's not a guarantee, but yes,
Yeah.
that's,
I'm just trying to get the strategy down. I understand in that case, so. So your number here, if everything came through, would be 232, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess for today, I guess what I'm saying is, will this 30,000 run, if we don't get the 80,000, but we keep the smaller one for the building, this buys out a complete new generator to run the pump?
That was a generator just for the pump.
And is the pump in here somewhere?
Yeah, the pump's in the, 182.
182,
Pump the tank and all the, piping.
Okay.
and the labor to, so forth.
So if worse goes to worse, this will stand alone if we don't upscale the generator. Okay. So why don't we go forwards with this number for the sake of planning? And
Well, at
it's,
the end, our thought was at the end, if we find out it's gonna, we can just change it
sure,
to 232.
Yeah,
I mean-
that's, the bottom line number is what the board of the selectmen have to decide on by early January.
so we'll go with a 262 in the near term. And if you get this other action taken care of, we'll back the 30 up when we go to presentations, assuming you get that. Okay.
And we will have to know that soon, right, because it's already been ordered.
Do you have any other requests?
What do you think? No, I
So you're gonna bump the general maintenance fund by some money this year for things that come up in an emergency fashion?
We will, yeah. Now, we do have a warrant article, as you know, already on the table for the bell tower reconstruction. And then we want to move ahead fairly quickly, but unfortunately it's October, with repairs on the outside of the building, where it's rot. We did just approve last night the repair and painting of the handicap ramp and the installation of a door on the back of the stage. We measured out, and one of the old doors that we just took off, the old new doors we just took off, will work fine on the back of the stage. It's a pretty good fit, actually. And then we'll buy a door for the
Furnace room.
the furnace room. We've got to check with Chip to see whether there has to be a fire-rated door or not. And, that work's already been put out to start now.
So where is the money for bell tower coming from, your general fund?
Warner,
That's the warrant article I came to you with last week or the week.
Okay. So it would be a separate request.
Yeah, and we're doing it that way because that seemed to be the pleasure of the people at
Okay.
last year's deliberative session.
Any other business, Tom?
Not this morning. I'll
Any
see what I can
questions
dream
for
up.
Tom?
That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
My cartoon
Is it
is
time? Yeah, we love that.
yeah.
We gotta sit around so we can enjoy it.
Don't you be stealing that time. Lost me registration for that time.
Casey's movie yet?
Not quite. That's the end of second. Get ready for third. That won't be much. Good year.
What are we doing?
I'm waiting for you.
You want, does anybody have a consolidated list of requests?
Well, just go down through this list now. The agenda
Okay.
will tell you who's where. Fire department didn't have any for this year, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Administrative order?
We gotta get them out
That's
of
the
order.
order.
Yeah, that's not here.
Okay, so then you go to the police, which you saw last week.
Right, and that is this the number that's been brought back? Yeah, this is that, I don't know which number it is, 85,000 or 81?
Is that the revised one?
I don't know.
Front
I
page,
just,
Yeah.
right?
this is
right there.
revised,
Yeah.
so it's 85, 181, 95, 59. Next one, nothing for
Parks and
park.
Rec,
The DPW, oh, you want to do that first?
Parks and Rec.
60.
60,000.
Okay, and then you have, are you gonna do anything with Chase Park?
No. Well, she didn't come in with the information. She came in with a request, but
You're talking about the boat ramp?
So that's nothing?
I would put zero at this point due to the lack of information. Okay, Benji has got,
Road reconstruction.
yeah, that's 480.
Backhoe,
Well, the backhoe is kind of a story. Gotta make sure we get our story straight. This is not a clean buyout. This is buying out, putting towards a year's worth of,
80% of a year's worth of lease.
right?
80% of a year's worth of lease.
Okay, so that's 30,000, that'd be
So
24.
you're down to 95.
95.3,
Right.
so it looks like it's 78. Is that right? No.
78.5 is what I read. Yeah.
I got $78,000 down here.
But he talked about adding forks and something else to it, right?
From
So what's the magic number in there?
something like 97.
Right here. You have to look at this.
Well, that just shows 95, and you've got some capital reserve money available.
Well, this 95 would be what he, it would be an all-inclusive, and then you
Okay.
take your rent payments.
Okay, so
So-
this is 80% of last year's minus some number what signs up being 95,320.
95,320, yeah.
And we put that as a line item. But is there a capital reserve available as well?
Yes,
35.
35,
around 35. There's
3,500 or 1,000?
35,000.
1,000.
I got a grimace from the finance committee on that.
Let's see what she
That
said.
was the 35.
All depends, because it's the highway fund and I don't know if it's the truck or backhoe or a little bit of both.
No, I was thinking of the transfer station. Between the two, you could drop 35 off. No?
Yeah, I don't think you wanted to take it out of the transfer station.
Got 35 in the highway truck and equipment, and you've got 22,800.
So a recommendation would be to raise $95,320. And then on the side, apply the $35,000, correct? And then we'll net it out for taxes. So it'll be like $60,000 for taxes for the backhoe.
6320.
All right? What else we got?
Truck,
We,
or
the
trucks?
truck, yeah.
Potentially trucks.
Backhoe. Plow truck, 10-wheeler. He's got 215. Is that basically the price that we paid this year for the truck? So we got a little cheaper, didn't we?
We did.
So is this a good number for inflation?
The number to use last year, because they don't really sharpen their pencil until they know you have money.
Well, what I'm suggesting is, we did buy the truck this year a little bit less than what the appropriation was.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
How much less, do you have any idea?
about 30.
30,000?
It was a small trade-in you got.
Oh, okay, yeah, we haven't traded. Well,
I don't really trade it.
I guess we used 215. There's no sense bumping it up for inflation. We now have the library. Is that correct? And what he's asking for,
25.
25 for the current year, but he's going out 4 years for a total of 100. And again, this is towards the 100,000, this is one payment. And it's for planning, feasibility analysis, architecture, and engineering fees. I don't think there's enough money in 100,000 for the architect and engineering fees total. He said it's a couple $1 million for
The building.
right, and it can cost 3 to 10% depending on how complex the project is, just for the engineering, just for the architecture. Okay, this is request. Do we have any other questions?
Yep, I already filled the board up for you.
Oh, great. Bell tower, 50 grand, basically.
And we'll stand for
And
this.
fire suppression. That number could go down by 30,000. But we need to raise the whole thing.
You may want to put next to fire suppression in parentheses,
What is that for?
plus 30,000.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, that's pretty pitiful.
Jan brought up one, I don't know if we got it, it's 105 for the bridge reconstruction, which is towards a total of 420, which is 20% of our price of the bridge on River Road. So that 85 for the police is 5% up from last year,
Right, and it's
Okay.
for 2 cars.
so. Okay. And that is for both the car itself and the stuff that goes in the
Yep. It's furnished.
40. I feel pretty confident in the numbers for the actual things we're purchasing, like the police, the parks, DPW. The library is a cap reserve going against someday
Long-range planning.
constructing a future library. And then the bell tower is pretty well understood, and we do have an option of reducing the fire suppression. Any discussion from the committee? I mean, the intent is, we will
we as the CIP qualify these as reasonable expenses to the town. What I mean by that is, if the master plan says we'll have roads so we have access for transportation, just assumes we'll plow them, and assuming we have a police force of protection as fire, even though we don't have any fire this year, we would have the facilities to do that, people in the facility. And so what we're doing is qualifying these that they meet the reasonable test. It doesn't mean we necessarily think it's necessary, but it's reasonable that town of Weare would use these capital assets. It's up to go through the filter of the planning board, finance committee, recommendation of the finance committee, and the ultimate placing on the warrant by the select board.
Send through the tax rate, all those.
What was your question, Bruce?
What, if it's all on the ballot, what's to do with the tax rate?
Yeah, we gotta net it out. We got to subtract the 35 from the backhoe. So we're neutral for tax.
$1.52?
How much?
$1.52?
The next question is, how much did we raise last year, equivalent, meaning not bonds? So we have apples to apples.
That was my next question.
Right, I figured it out. I was channeling on you.
Excuse me,
You're excused.
maybe calls.
Last year was $973,280.
Does that include road reconstruction? Oh, this year's higher.
Because we have to subtract,
But with the
The
road
amount of state-
reconstruction, you have the offsetting revenue.
Right. And what were you last year?
278, 373. For the block grant? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
so you tax it by 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
okay, just for Jack, because I'm not gonna miss that.
462.
Yeah, the 480 users were offset.
How much is this whole thing? Minus state reimbursement,
Oh, minus the.
minus the 30? We gotta get apples to apples.
So you're gonna take off about 200 maybe? No, 280.
Off the road. I got $1,034,129.
$1,034,000? And equivalent to that number, what was last year's?
$463,117. Because the cruisers came out of the fund balance.
Oh, you took the cruisers completely out of the fund balance, so you had a zero there.
What fund balance?
In the checking account?
In the what?
Checking account?
I'm kind of confused about that. Help me out with that.
It was out of the fund balance from the general fund, instead of raising the money we took from our fund balance.
Is there
Oh, but we're not apples to apples. We're worried about raised by taxes, and we know last year we did the fund balance, but this year we don't know what it is.
No.
Right, so let's just do,
What got approved the CIP items?
huh?
What got approved the CIP items?
The CIP items.
The ones that passed at town vote was the road reconstruction, the bridge reconstruction fund, the fire SCBA, the highway truck, and the cruisers.
Wait a minute. This is like apples, this is like fruit salad.
Okay.
Okay,
He wants to add up all of last year's requests, because this is this year's
Which
request.
is $973,000.
How much was it?
$973,280.
okay. Now, was that reduced by the amount we received from the state matching on the?
No.
Okay, so that's still that.
Yeah.
Is this net of any capital reserves and being drained? Or is this gross of the capital which is reserved last year, do we have any capital reserves from last year?
That was just the gross.
Okay, so we're up slightly. Some people think it's a lot of money. $60,000?
This
that
was
where
just
we
what
are
was
right now?
voted on, not what CIP recommended. I don't know what CIP recommended.
Yeah, so you have to last year's.
Wow.
No, about 60,000.
Well, that's not a bad number, knowing what they voted on.
Because the back code was voted down. No, it was voted
I've got a
down. Government
question.
building maintenance fund. was
You know,
voted
that's
down.
not too far off.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
On the Bolton Pavilion, Parks and Rec, do they have a separate fund that they can put donations and things into to be used for a specific purpose?
No,
Goes to general fund, doesn't it?
Could we start one and fund it a little bit? To give this one incentive to try to raise some money and be able to use it for that purpose?
I mean, the question is, can that be done? And the question is, will the town agree with it?
Obviously, it's, right.
Okay. Sort of like the equipment fund for the, I should say, the vehicle fund for the fire,
Hmm.
or the ambulance, I should say.
You want to pay for that?
no, we're good. That's what I have for the
1,352.
1,352,162.
I mean, one.
This year.
Yeah.
And that is
That
not,
adds this.
okay. So that could be overstated by 30,000 if we work with,
35, 65, and 280.
okay.
So you go to the 45. So this here, you want to follow. This is 1, 3, 5, 2, 162. This adds up to 3.
So is that close to that 1,334,000?
Close. This is gonna give you. $1,701,162. When you take out this one, this.
Does everybody understand that math?
Mm-hmm.
Before we go any further?
And you went. We're close.
Okay,
49.60.
We're close.
so,
She used the exact number of block grant, I didn't. I used the formula.
okay, so it's $7,000 on top of the million.
Yep.
Okay,
Save higher.
so when we talk about raised by taxes, we would have to understand how much reserve is left from the current year that we would apply to reduction on taxes for the next year.
Yeah, it's the board of selectmen decision.
We don't know what it is.
Because they used some fund balance last year to pay off the cruisers, provide cruisers. They might use some this year to offset the tax rate in October in a few weeks.
Okay.
So,
Is there any way for us to get the raw number from last year that we recommended? Equivalent to that $1,007,000? Just so we get an idea of where we were at the gross level?
yeah, last year's request.
Do you have last year's CIP presentation?
This is like making sausage. It's ugly.
We're squeezing it into the room right now.
Takes us a while to get the numbers. We don't know what the numbers are till we get there.
She's on stage.
The intent is to try to smooth the tax rate so
Cause
we're
this
not,
number was higher last year.
Yeah.
The same, this was the same, this was the same.
the backhoe's almost as much as the car as last year. We had a truck, we had the bridge.
We didn't raise-
Yeah,
That's last year's?
actually, I have last year's presentation.
No, that's just the debt.
Would this help, Riley?
Yeah, that would help immensely. Chase that down. Cause you had the apparatus last year too, remember, for fire? You had the air packs. So
Is
for
Beth
fire,
look-
you had 125.
Is Beth looking for that list?
Probably. So for the fire last year, you had 125,000, which was, oh no, you only had 100, because the AC power for repeaters, the selectmen took out of the budget, so you have 100 for the fire. SCBA,
Yeah, but we're looking for the gross number,
yeah,
not
I'm
looking
just
for the.
going, I'm walking you through it a step
Okay.
at a time.
What was the first one?
100 for
Okay.
fire.
Yep.
DPW was a total of 946. You're looking for gross, right? 956. $1,046,000. Pace Park, 36,000. And the cruiser replacement was 113,184. And so we're at 1196080.
What was the last number you just gave, Naomi?
Cruisers was 113,184. That's gross. So you were
Okay, so, but, does that include the,
Excuse me.
does that include, okay,
included, that's all your requests.
what was the big one?
Benji's,
What was that for?
hang on, that was the 686. I'll find it. That had new 10-wheeler, road reconstruction,
Right.
bridge improvement, and the backhoe.
That was 956, wasn't it?
946.
Oh, 46.
596.
Okay. So apples to apples between last year and this year is we're down,
You're up.
We're
we're
up
up,
This is 2018.
18.
You're up, you didn't have these two last
I got it.
year. You're up $156,082.
And you could claim most of that's, could be the board of selectmen.
Yep.
We still got, we have cars, we got 3 last year, 1 this year.
This one was higher than last year.
They had
This request
25.
was 36 last year.
Yeah.
This is 60. This is lower. This was 113, it's now
Yeah.
85. That's the
Same.
same. That's a little lower.
Yeah.
That's the same. That's the same.
Yeah.
That wasn't on there. We had nothing from the library last year.
Nothing like,
So you had 3.
But we had the 100,000 for the air packs.
Right, and the
For
fire
fire.
and the air pack.
okay, that makes
So
sense.
it's close. She had her phone. Oh, I think he went to tell her not to look anymore.
So we'll actually be under if we get the credit on the fire.
Yeah, well, this is gross. Last year, though, we played around with out of the general fund, and
But that's how
why.
you pay for it.
Correct.
Right.
And we don't know that this year, so we can't
We don't
compare
know
against
that.
last.
We don't know this yet. This is in there. We don't have a real number there yet, it's roughly. Did you tell them that you need to look? looking for what I already have.
Yeah, I told you, you guys had it, so I
Okay.
don't know where she is.
Here she is.
There she is.
So, assuming everybody knew what we were talking about, the question is, do we want to take each one of these separately and talk about them? Or do we want to just look at it, raise questions about the ones you think is suspect and maybe can't be done?
Why don't you go down through the list at the top?
I mean,
Why don't you go down through the list at the top?
we'll start from the top. Discussion on the police cars. The way the chief demonstrated is that we paid over the last 7 or 8 years where we've been requesting cars and haven't got them. We racked up $250,000 or better of repairs on vehicles. And if you look back and say you were smart back 7 years ago, you would have bought the cars because you spent the money over the
Told you
years.
so, right?
They don't know.
Any other discussions on the police? He's looking at dropping from 8 to 7 cars if he gets to do 2 new ones. I'm okay with it leaving that in. Everybody all set?
I agree. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Parks and Rec. The Bolton Field. I mean, it's a beautiful field. The town of Weare hasn't put a lot of money into that field over the years. There was some initial, and what I gather and heard people speak about it, a lot of people utilize that. And there isn't a lot of sun protection, what they're looking for, or weather protection, or an area just get out of the sun, have a picnic. Anybody want to discuss the Parks and Recs, for or against?
Well, they've been trying to do something at Bolton Field the last few years. They've got
I missed the line.
a plan that was done probably 10 or 15 years ago. And the first thing the plan addressed, and the first thing that really needs to happen up there is more parking. And I think they really need some incentive to get out and do some private fundraising for that type of facility. But if they don't have a mechanism to do that, or to put that money, it really is saying, we want you to, but you can't.
Well, I guess the question is, it's a binary decision. Do we want to include this in this year's?
Oh, it is.
It's within the scope of the town of Ware. It doesn't appear to be frivolous if you look at the total, utility of that property. Again, we're asking these reasonable things to do.
I don't think the pavilion is the first thing we ought to be batting at, so if that's what they're calling for, I'd have to say no.
Would it be smarter to try to, expand the parking down there next year if there's time for the highway department to spend a couple weeks in there?
Oh, it's more than that. You need, the real money is material.
Yeah.
Everything's good. They basically removed all the marketable gravel. So
There's
there was-
ledge too.
There's a huge amount of ledge, so to put any, we've already, Bruce, myself, and Craig Francisco looked at that, that you would have to remove some ledge, and you would still have to bring in thousands of yards of material to implement a multi-tier parking area. The lower side below the road, close to the sports, is like 2 tiers, and then back maybe 2 tiers. So it'll be like a 4 tier with the road going between it. It's a considerable if the material was on site, it'd just be a question of moving it around. There's really not a lot of material that's available.
Well, what if you did the blasting the first year and crushed everything that you got blasted out and used it for, on your road construction?
Yeah, but we don't have a plan before us. And that would probably cost a couple $100,000. If the material is there and it gets relatively cheap, you can move it around. But if you gotta haul it in, or you gotta blast it, and you gotta crush it, that's all labor to get that done. And that's more than a billion. I don't think we should necessarily assume that we're here. We're here to qualify are these reasonable expenses for the town? And the department wants to go through us to bring it to the town for vote. Who there is the selectmen, the finance, and the planning board. So I believe the Parks and Rec's request qualifies for a reasonable expense for the town of Weare. It's not frivolous, it's not outside the scope.
But if,
We haven't got an option for it. We can have all kinds of ideas, but there's no options on the
Right,
table.
that's what's here.
Pardon?
That's what's here.
That's what's here this year.
Right.
It's an incremental improvement, and that's what, quote, the people running the Parks and Rec thought was appropriate for this year. Given our charter, I say it stays. If it was a decision between this and something else, we don't have the something else.
I agree.
appreciate Bruce's answer with
I agree with
fundraising.
Yeah.
But having kids play the system, you pay to play. So to
Yeah, but-
fund,
But that's another year.
I'm just saying, I'm just replying to the fundraising idea.
Right.
You're putting it back on the parents that use the field. I mean, on top of paying $45 or $125 to play a sport, and you get the use of the field to go and ask the same group of people to raise money for something else. I'm just saying, that's all, I only had a comment to the,
Well, that may be very practical for the future. And also, you could take that extent to the trash recycling. Why wouldn't that go into a fund for funding any infrastructure for new trailers, new balers, whatever at the transfer station? I mean, these are all things for the future, but we're here today.
but I'm saying the fees that you pay don't go to the town of Weare to play, you go to the organization that's supporting it.
Right.
That pays for their.
That pays
Rather
for
than
the
general
equipment,
fund.
right, and the insurance. So, I get it, I mean, fundraising, I get completely.
Naomi, what did they do in New Boston? They put a brand new grandstand in down there. They bought the materials. Some of it was donated, but all the labor was donated, I was told. I
don't
mean,
know. I frequent New Boston, but not enough.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could cut that number in half if you had somebody
But
that,
the parks, they have a huge Parks and Rec.
I know they do.
They're over there, so
Yeah.
the town funds the director, they funds all the programs, they fund
Yeah.
all the uniforms, they fund everything over there. Hence the tax rate.
I'll move to leave it in.
leave
And
it in, I guess, and
can I get a second for the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. You would say aye?
aye.
How many noes? How many abstentions? So I think I heard, which I didn't hear, but I think I heard 6. Okay.
Thank you, Beth.
Road reconstruction,
You do the first one, then, right?
that's the money that basically builds our summer roads programs. And most of it, roughly half of it gets paid by the state, that comes back.
Right.
You all
And
vote
rule of thumb is Benji's able to do out of that money about a mile of new road reconstruction, take it right back down to the bed and take out all the rocks, the stone walls, the stumps that were in there, and make it into a new road to the new spec. And also on top of that, he gets about $100,000 for doing what he calls shim and overlay, which is taking a road that's capable of an upgrade just by a surface upgrade. And notionally, it's about an inch, and it costs $70,000 to do a mile. So once you do a few other things like a culvert here and there, he gets about a mile, a little better than a mile, just shim and overlay. If we ever don't get that money approved, you're kind of in a situation where you're gonna have a lot of people standing around in the summer. So that does our roads. Any issue on that? This is a recurring budget. We bumped it a couple of years
Given.
ago, and we held it at 480. I mean, he can, there's a limit to what he can spend. If you gave him $1 million to reconstruct roads, he couldn't spend it because he doesn't have enough trucks and people. He'd have to hire subcontractors. So there's a limit to what he can spend. But, now, not to cloud the water, we are gonna get additional money from the state for
We already
road-
did,
Okay, we do have how much?
237.
How much?
237,000.
And the see, nobody can hear you at home.
Would you let me know for the window?
No, I'm just saying, you don't have a microphone.
One right there.
And yes, they could hear you if you open the window. So we have a windfall this year?
Sure.
It's been decided that's gonna be used for roads?
Yeah, he just doesn't have, he just can't do it right now, and it can be carried over.
But
Too late.
in talking with us, thought would probably be for shim and overlay. The easy
That's what
stuff.
he's looking at, to extend the life of some of the ones that are kinda,
And you could basically hire a asphalt company to come in and lay the asphalt down with some flagging cost. Okay. How are we doing on the 480? Want me to do a motion again? Move that we accept 480?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Can I hear a vote? Yes?
Aye.
Noes? Abstentions? I'm gonna call it 7-0-0. Sounds unanimous. Okay, backhoe. The story of woe is last year, he requested a truck and a backhoe. And the question became, which one do you want? And he says, I can rent a backhoe. I can't rent a plow truck. So he asked for the truck, and the backhoe basically wasn't supported, and it didn't get passed. What did he have to do? He has $480,000 to spend with no backhoe, which is the primary mover for material and working on road reconstruction. He went and rented one for 6 months. 6 months rental is $20,000. So, for a $115,000 machine, you have to pay $20,000 for 6 months. If you need another backhoe in the other 12 months for a culvert or a beaver pond or something else that goes, when he doesn't have it rented, he's gotta go get one by the day. So what he's done is, trying to stop the rental, he went back and talked to John Deere, who has this particular model that he rented, and he likes it. And they said they would put 80% of the last year's rental against $16,000 against the purchase price, so we can recoup last year's rental. And there are some monies in a capital reserve of some of $35,000. So, sort of out of pocket, or out of request, is $95,320 for buying the used backhoe, which we used last year and continue to use. And we can subsidize that by $35,000. That $35,000 can be used for trucks or backhoes. So it's just a way of showing it that the total out of cost for the backhoe would be $60,000 for a $115,000 backhoe. Or we could lease it again this year, meaning 2018, for another $20,000. And in 4 years, we would have bought it. I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, we're in the business of maintaining roads. The old backhoe wasn't a top line brand, and it's been beat for 17 some odd years. And it's basically usable for the transfer station of packing down the trailers or the open top containers.
I think it's a no-brainer. What I wish they would have done, though, would have looked at the 3 top brands that he was interested in and looked to see what the price were on 3 of them. So we'd have had a better feel instead of just taking one, because we don't have any information on that.
Well, in defense of Benji,
Yeah,
he rented one, and the only good deal we got is the guy we rented it from, a brand new machine, is willing to give us 80% of last year's rental. I mean, John Deere is a good brand,
oh, yeah.
and so is Cat, and so is others. So we happen to be here with the John Deere family, so.
And apparently the one he rented would have been exactly would have been how we spec went out to purchase.
Correct.
I guess, I mean, I understand this is all a good concept, and I get the idea, and I certainly think that the way it comes out is the way to sell it. However, at town meeting last year, when this was brought up, it was said that he would rent, he would not have the money to rent for 12 months. So he would have to rent for the summer months. So we've done a whole year lease, or not lease, but a
Rental.
agreement, I guess, some kind of an agreement to rent it. And plus the fact when they're not going out, we didn't go out for any bids. I mean, we've bypassed a bid process.
Yeah, but the bid process would have happened if the town approved the money to buy. When the town didn't approve the money to buy, along comes April, May, and Benji says, gee, Santa never sent me a backhoe. So he basically says, I need a backhoe. And you call him and say, I need at least a backhoe for 6 months for the road work. And he picked John Deere, which happened to be exactly the same spec, because I asked him pointedly, I said, is that the machine you would want if you wanted to buy one? He said, yes. I asked for a rental for the exact one I would have bought. Happened to be singular John Deere. Okay, so now we've got 6 months wear on it, and the company is saying, we don't really want it back. We'll give you a one-time great deal if you would just buy that thing off of us now. So we've got a 6-month used machine we're buying, which gives us $18,000 off this price. I know it's ugly how it turned out, but the procurement method that we use as a town government, he could have done 2 things. He could have leased a machine, or he could have hired somebody to come in by the hour and bring their machine in.
Right.
So,
Where does no mean no come in?
well, see, here's the question. That's a very good question. You know what he used for money to rent that thing for $20,000?
Road
Got
reconstruction.
480.
No, I know.
So,
It didn't fix it.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman?
if this is a legal issue, that ought to be sought through our legal counsel.
We didn't buy it.
We didn't buy it, we leased it.
Rented it.
So I don't want to get into that because that's beyond my pay grade. You know, we have Laura Spector who can answer those questions.
The town said no to buying the backhoe, but I remember discussion, I think it was from the finance committee that said if he needed one, he should rent it.
You're
Did that
absolutely
happen
right
last year?
about that.
Okay.
And then
So all he's doing is saying, this is a way that we can get back some of our money that we've spent to rent the machine. But I'd like to talk for a second about the machine itself. We sit here and we look at numbers, but having been in that type of business and knowing about machinery, that is such a vital piece of equipment.
Correct.
And what it saves us by having it is an extreme amount of labor. And I know in my business, I can't afford to hire somebody. So if I can spend money to help save labor and I still have a capital piece of equipment, I'd rather spend the money that way than either hire somebody or go out and rent something, because then the money's gone. And the next time I need it, I have to spend more money. So he's talked in the past about, okay, he has the excavator which will outdig the backhoe on a dig site, no question. But it's the transportation of it. To load it on a trailer takes time. to, you know, move it around where you can just jump in, turn the key and drive somewhere. Yeah, it's not as fast as a car, but, you know, it's faster than going to get the truck, hooking on the trailer, loading it onto the trailer, bringing it to the site, offloading it. You know, it chews up a huge amount of time. The other thing is there's a backup loader. It can be used for that. It's just so versatile that it can save us so much money in the long run. And we have a habit as voters in this town of kind of having tunnel vision and not thinking about what the long-range effects are going to be on the police cruisers, the highway trucks. You know, we spend a huge amount of money on repairs and all that because we haven't kept up with the fleet. So,
Steve, Jan's point was not necessarily, do we need it? It was,
Right.
the town said, we're not buying one last year. So her concern is the, sort of the end run around the town meeting. He went and rented it. Now, that fine point of the legal aspects, it seems at some side, she's got a point. But the other side, I believe, if it's not legal, somebody's gonna be in handcuffs, but I think it is legal. And there is a way of solving the problem. What the town got out of that is $20,000 in last road reconstruction. What we did is we leased a $115,000 backhoe, which has got probably a 12-year lifespan. Let's just call that $10,000 a year. So for half a year, we paid $20,000. At an annual rate, that'd be $40,000. We paid 4 times the last summer, and we depleted road reconstruction money by $20,000 to do that. So I think most people will agree that we need the backhoe as a prime piece of equipment. How we pay for it happens to be on an individual year basis. It looks awful goofy for what we did if you look back from 10 years from now. I mean, 10 years in the future, looking back. Financially, it makes no sense to pay $10,000 a year for a piece of equipment essentially over 10 years or 12 years than it does to pay 4 times the money for, or twice the money for half a year. I mean, it looks kind of goofy to me. I mean, in business,
Well,
my business, that wouldn't have flown. We,
and the other part of your issue, I mean, obviously, he's still gonna put that out to bid. But we
is that true?
know who the low bid is gonna be.
Yeah.
No, he isn't.
John Deere's gonna be the low bidder.
Right. Why not?
$18,000.
No, he isn't putting it up to bid. There's a purchase order for it signed by the selectmen.
That was just to hold it.
Just to hold it.
That was just
But
to,
it says
that was just
here
to
that
hold it so you
final
don't throw away your
purchase
20 grand that you
subject to
already
vote
paid.
approval.
Can I just say something? Jan's got a valid point. It may not be the CIP's authority to fix it. I mean, that's the select board problem, how to fix that. We're here to say, do we want to continue renting this piece of equipment at a ridiculous rate? Or do we want to own this piece of equipment? However it gets done, it's got to be legal. And it's up to the select board to make sure that happens. We're here to say, does the town want to raise and appropriate $95,000? And we're saying, kind of, we're going to take 35 out of the budget we have, the capital reserve, for a total of 60, so.
I mean, it's a cost effective. What you're saying is correct. I'm not disputing any of that, okay? The other thing, I did ask for a copy of this yesterday, and another thing that concerns me is one of the board members had requested that there be an extended warranty on
Right.
the purchase order, and this says declined. John Deere preventive maintenance and declined
But
John Deere extended warranty.
Jim, with all due respect,
Yes,
that's a problem for the selectmen to figure out.
Yeah, we can't do that.
okay.
That's not our authority. We can commiserate with you, but we're here to say, on the warrant, there's a request. And we're either got a binary yes or no, or we might got a fiddle little thing, but how this gets done is up to the select board for the purchase of that and how it goes out. It's done. I'd just like to hold a vote to see if we're willing to put that on the board, put up on the warrant. Nominate it for a candidate on the warrant.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. Any discussion about putting that on the warrant? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Being none, abstention being none, thank you. You got a valid point, Jan, and that ought to be run down and get it done correctly.
But you can't get a warranty until you buy it. We're
That
only
may be
holding
the
it.
problem, but
We're
I don't
only
wanna get
holding
into
it.
that, right. Okay, truck. Benji has 150 miles of roads in this town, 66 is asphalt, 40 is, round numbers, 40 is dirt. He expects his performance of his mission statement is that he would have roads plowed every 3 hours until the storm is done. And in order to do that, he needs 10 large vehicles. His mix is some 10-wheelers, some 6-wheelers. And what he's recommending, based on his summer work, using the same trucks, and his plowing and sanding routes, he's asking for a 12-yard, which is smaller than a 16-yard 10-wheeler. And he's asking for that with a dump, the sander, and the plows that go with it. And the price of that is $115,000.
$215.
$250. And the reason he's doing that is because he currently has like 6 trucks with almost 10,000 hours on it. And he doesn't want to get into the same position as the police department, where you're not buying vehicles, but you're paying exorbitant amount of money for repairs. And it isn't just to repair the cost. You're taking a driver off who doubles as a mechanic when it's snowing. He's also the driver. And he's off, so now there's 9 trucks, including the one that is broken. And it's not so much that the cost of material and the time from the mechanic to fix it. It's the impact of delivery of service or a product. And if people are willing to wait until they get all the equipment fixed to get their yards plowed, the roads plowed. But he's trying to say, in order to meet his objective, which he kind of set out, he needs to have 10 working large trucks. And he is approaching almost 10,000 hours on, I think, 6 of them. And he has basically, he'd like a 10-year life on these, and then he can sell them out at state auction, and recoup some money. Whereas you run into the wore out, you get nothing. And if you have to replace a $15,000 engine or $11,000 transmission, the truck is still worth $2,000 after it's wore out. So his theory, his practice he'd like to implement is basically buy a truck to replace one of his large hour that he has on his fleet. Simple as that. We need the trucks for the summer work, we need the trucks for the plowing. The question is, do we want to be paying repairs, less service, or do we want to be getting it? So I personally think it makes the right sense to keep a fresh fleet of vehicles than it is to run them into the ground and pay the maintenance and the loss of service. So, any discussion on the truck? I think we know what it costs. It's just a question of putting it up for on one. So I request a motion to accept the truck.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second. Discussion on that? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention. Thank you.
Can I go back? Because and it's not anything to do with the vote, okay, it's just to ask a question.
Sure.
On the backhoe, last year it was to, I believe, replace the one at the transfer station?
No.
You're right.
Last year was to replace, this year's request is not to replace. We're gonna
In
keep
other
the
words,
new
we're gonna
one.
keep the 2,
Yes.
okay.
And the reason for the 2 is
You don't beat the new one up.
Firmex or whatever the one's
It's a
called.
Firmac.
That basically needs a whole new front end to keep it from dodging off the road. The thing's not very stable driving down the road. And it leaks. And if only needed for smashing down the containers. You know, if you blow a hose, you can fix a hose. But, so that was a strategy, and I think it makes sense.
No, I just didn't know
Okay.
if we could get any money out of that.
We'd have to pay somebody for it.
Okay, the bridge fund, pretty simple.
Year two.
Yeah, this is year 2 of 4 years. That's $420,000 we need for our 20% of the bridge at River Road. And it's probably 3 or 4 more years. and
Yeah,
we're
it's not
lucky.
just River Road, Jack.
I mean,
It's, we, remember when we did it, we lumped it all together. It's the 3 bridges all together.
correct. Yeah, oh, that's right, too, I'm sorry. Low Road and
Francis Down.
those are culverts, by the way. All 3 of these on the Red Bridge replacement, municipal Red Bridge that the
I
state.
don't know that the River Road is on the
They
red
probably
list.
took it off 'cause
They
they
took
made
it
it.
off when we did the repairs. But that was only a 5-year repair, supposedly.
So again, this is putting money for, saving it for a known expense in the future. Matching fees. Any discussion? Not a call for a motion.
I move that we approve the $105,000 for that.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? And abstentions? None. Okay, we get to the library, and, this is to fund sort of, they call it the feasibility and
Feasibility study.
architectural and engineering. And this is one payment against $100,000. And this is the first installment. I think you could argue that the library has changed over the years as a repository of books that people can go and get when you couldn't afford to buy them. And as we get into the 21st century, it's becoming, this role has shifted. And as a result, the implementation of the library is seen as quite often not only just as a library service with books and access to knowledge, but also a place where a lot of towns, they see this as the center of a civic center. A lot of our Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, various other clubs in town find places such as churches and stuff like that for access. There's a finite amount of that in the town. So the director of the library is looking down the street for like 15 years. And what he's trying to do is help develop that vision of the future of where the library's gonna go. And it'll probably take the place of just a single library, but more of a civic center in the future. And that's yet to be defined. And a lot of towns around us have done that. So this is sort of like the first step to get there. This had been raised up 4 years ago with a past library director for $25,000 for the same thing, and I believe it got voted down. This may have been in, 2013, 2012, as I recall. It was at least 3 or 4 years ago, and that did not pass the time. Libraries are sort of a strange animal because they have their own trustees that run the library. They do get money from the town, and they also have other sources of money they use. So this is basically a request for the infrastructure in the future of what a building would like to support the library. I think I represented that fairly well. I mean, libraries are within the scope of the master plan. And we do fund it currently, so there's some prima facie evidence that we do support a library in town. So the question becomes, is it worthy of it being put on the warrant if it makes it all the way through the select board? Put it up there to see what the town aware thinks. And I think if there's support in the town, we'll do it. I don't think we should be a place to stop that, because we currently fund a library. It is within the scope of the town services, and this is a way to see if there's support in the town
we're starting on that path. And I'd like someone to move to accept this in the positive, if we could, and get a second.
I'll make a motion to accept the 25 cents.
Second,
Second?
okay. Any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. 700. Board of Selectmen, I mean, we do have a beautiful town hall. Unfortunately, it's been up there for quite a while, and this is one of those things, either we want the bell tower or we don't want the bell tower. It's sort of a binary question. If we're gonna have the bell up there, it's gonna be safe. So, I mean, to me, if anybody in the town doesn't like this, I don't understand it, but it's on our seal. It's, the recognition of the town. I guess anybody has any discussion on this, if we want to put the motion, I'll put it to the motion. Can I have a motion, please, to accept the bell tower?
I'll make the motion to accept the bell
Thank you.
tower.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Very good. Now, on the fire suppression, we could spend a couple hours discussing why this happened, but probably the biggest piece was we came off a very flat economy when we voted this in, and we knew that when we used $105,000 per square foot. And since that time, it took a year from the time we voted it in to the time we actually built it. And there's been an upswing in the economy, especially on building. And as a result of getting competitive prices, we have to kind of not implement the fire suppression in order to get the building done. That's as simple as it is. So the question is, it seemed like a lot of support from the public at the open forum we had here at the select board meeting. That there are still people that think this is a good idea. I personally think it's a good idea. The first time we're gonna have a box, we're gonna stick $2 or $3 million worth of capital assets in there. And if it goes up in flames, we do get covered by some level of insurance. But the impact to services is gonna be terrific, like it was in Henniker. And that's a recent example. So, question is, the 262 could be reduced by $30,000 to 232. Well, we got to vote here to start the journey on that number. And if it ends up being $30,000 less, it will be $30,000 less. But for 262,000 for the fire suppression. Any discussion on that? Okay, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept 260.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I think we're done, aren't we?
We are, except for you and I.
Say what?
You and I another time.
Oh, yeah, we got some.
Just I wanna let you know, I forgot the library. That's what Beth was trying to tell me, but I just kinda said, it's close enough.
That being polite, she didn't.
So she was very polite.
Yeah.
1377162 is this column, minus that gives you 1032162 versus this was the gross sale for March.
Do you have a package? Now, what Naomi, Beth, and I will do over the next couple of weeks is we passed this out originally, try to develop this package, which contains all the assumptions, documented all the information that we've done. And what I do is go through the planning board, we are actually subcommittee to the planning board. The planning board has two actions. It basically has the development master plan. And part of that master plan is the actual development of the land. They meet every other Thursday, and you see them televised for the actual implementation of how they will do land development. A second piece of that, which they could do, but they subcontracted to the CIP, is making sure that the town is being developed in a way and that it's supported by capital assets. That's why there's a CIP committee by RSA's and state regulations. So we are a subcommittee. We will then take this to the planning board. We'll ask them to accept this or modify it as necessary. And after that's been done, I will take it to the finance committee, who makes a recommendation. And
and we've ultimately taken to the Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen accepts this package, puts it in the form of warrants, and goes up on the town meeting for acceptance through the vote. So, myself, Naomi, Beth, and whoever we got to tap, will develop this package, and as soon as that's done, we'll get it out to you electronically, for those that can take electronic, so you can see it. A lot of this is a bit of an eye chart. It is somewhat redundant because we want to see the top level and we want to talk about each department. So this is our job in the future. So with that, I want to thank everybody from the CIP.
You have minutes?
Huh?
You have minutes?
We're not done yet. I just want to thank everybody from the CIP and all the departments that were very cooperative in the iterations that we did to get here. Thank you very much. Now, do you think we have minutes?
I think so. Want me to open the window?
Now minutes. Anybody want to talk about the minutes other than Naomi?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Minutes were distributed electronically. Does anybody have any questions or any corrections for the minutes?
And then this week, Gary?
There's one, but it's okay.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, come on. I was hoping to pass.
Are you passing, Gary?
Yeah,
Passing Gary
I'll
today?
pass.
Okay, with that
Is it
said,
grammar?
motion to accept the minutes.
I make sure we accept them.
Thank you very much.
Second?
Second, thank you very much. Any discussion on the motion for minutes? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions?
Yes,
Thank you. Well, you don't like it.
I wasn't
No, he
here.
wasn't here.
Wow.
601.
Thank you.
Well, you can still vote yes.
I don't know if it's accurate.
Okay, I think we're done? Okay.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, guys.
We adjourn.
Thank you. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.